Oh, okay. I can be loud.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Hulrich, and as Mayor of Mapleton, I am honored to welcome you to the 145th Annual Burns Night Celebration. The format for a Burns celebration ranges from formal gatherings of scholars to an all-out Scotch and whiskey drinking contest. I have no doubt that tonight Mapleton has added to the list of different formats by going virtual. I hope you enjoy tonight's format. Even though we can't be in person tonight, we can still be present in spirit with each other as we celebrate. Thanks to the many individuals who have been involved in coordinating this event so Mapleton can continue to celebrate this rich tradition. It's because of those individuals that Mapleton is able to hold the oldest continuing celebration in Minnesota, even during a worldwide pandemic. Also, now this is important, even though you're at home in your living room, please wear pants or a kilt, something. It's just common decency. I had to wear this, so the least you could do is look presentable if someone knocked on your door. Tonight, the 56th Miss Bonnie Lass will be crowned. Good luck to the contestants, Mallory, Julia, and Elizabeth. You're becoming part of a very special tradition in Mapleton. I want to thank the Maple River Burns Club for asking me to speak tonight. This weekend is a great time for remembering the great Scottish heritage that makes up so much of Mapleton's ancestry. What an accomplishment to keep this celebration alive. The Maple River Burns Club members, past and present, have my gratitude for keeping this tradition alive in Mapleton. Now tonight, in honor of Scottish poet Robert Burns, we'll be celebrating all things Scottish: poetry, music, dancing, curling, bagpipes, even fine cuisine. In fact, at a Burns supper just a few short years ago here in town, a fine big haggis was delivered to each table. A recent newcomer to Mapleton remarked, "I've never seen a haggis before. It looks like a football. I'm not sure whether I should eat it or kick it," he smirked. Now, after they had eaten, Jeff leaned over and asked his guest, "So, how was it?" To which his guest replied, "I should have kicked it." Even virtually, one thing is for certain. Burns Night requires a good master of ceremonies to orchestrate the occasion. John Stevens is joining us as his 15th time serving as MC of Burns Night. John is a 1980 graduate of Mapleton High School and a Mankato State University graduate with degrees in history and business finance. Growing up, the Scottish heritage played an important role in his life, as he and his sister Joy played the Scottish drums, and his brother Jay played the bagpipes. John is married to his wife Chris, and they have two grown children, Andrew and David. He is currently the Senior Managing Director for Nuveen. Thank you, John, for agreeing to be the Master of Ceremonies tonight. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to watch the City of Mapleton's celebration of Burns Night in true 2021 style. And now, a toast to the immortal memory of Robert Burns.
Welcome to the 145th Burns celebration in the great town of Mapleton, Minnesota, in celebration of Robert Burns' 262nd birthday this coming Monday, January 25th. And we are going to give this a go, and so I'm going to have some instructions for the few people here in the auditorium with me, as well as everyone listening at home. This is very important. You have to listen. So first step, I was very concerned about coming down here tonight and being by myself. Now I'm not quite by myself, luckily, but I brought a friend. So if you're wondering what's behind this, I brought my own Robert Burns. So if some of my jokes fail a little bit, I'll look to my friend Robert, and I'm sure he will smirk with me. So with that, step number 2, I want to say a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to Joanne Lake Evans for piping today. Joanne and I go way back to the Campmore Kilties. She is also a former Miss Bonnie Lass, 1978. And I was talking to Joanne is right after she was piped off the stage in 1978. She had to come right back on the stage and perform with me, and we sang a duet. I'll never forget that, Joanne. I'd also like to say a thank you to the following people who actually pulled this thing together tonight. I mean, this is pretty remarkable. And so a special thank you to Linda and Jeff Annis, to Janelle and Eric Megley, Jason Willis, and Josh Burnett. Thank you so much for getting this online and helping us out to continue our tradition this year. Also, I'd like to encourage people, if you want, afterwards, there's technology is out there to have your own clan gathering through Zoom or FaceTime or whatever you need to do to try to get your own clan gathering. I challenge you to do that and have some fun tonight. All right, the third and most important instruction, and it is to the audience, all right? First of all, you have to laugh out loud. I'm serious. My jokes are not good enough just to get a little ha-ha. You have to laugh out loud. If you laugh out loud, I'll be funnier. Trust me. And if you don't laugh out loud, I might tell my joke a second time. So that's your warning. But if you're at home, laugh out loud. Have some fun with this. 2, there will be a couple of places tonight where you get to sing along. So if you're sitting at home, along with the audience, sing along with us. I'll cue you a couple of times where you can join us and sing. Next, when the Miss Bonnie Lass crowning happens, you're sitting at home. Sit up in your chair. Be on edge. And when the crowning happens, cheer and clap. You'll have a lot more fun. I'm serious. And at the end, we'll all sing Auld Lang Syne. And if you were here in person, the tradition is to stand up and link arms. So even if you're by yourself, stand up, sway back and forth, and the memories of being here in Mapleton will come back. And I think you'll enjoy your night just a little bit more. So here we go. Let's kick this off. So first of all, I was preparing for tonight, and I like to tell some stories. So I'm going to tell some stories. And the first one, most of these are pretty accurate, and it's about Jeff and Linda Annis. And they brought home their first little bundle of joy. And of course, little babies, you have to change their diapers all the time. So Linda's been changing diapers, and Jeff's nowhere to be found. And then she finally goes, Jeff, why don't you can change this diaper? And Jeff goes, I'll get the next one. And of course, it was only about 15 minutes later, the next one came. And Linda goes, Jeff, it's your turn. And Jeff said, I meant the next kid. So if you're at home, you better be laughing at that, because that was pretty funny. Linda thought it was not so funny. Second, our mayor, Hollerich, I have a little story about him. I dug around and I found out he actually got audited by the IRS a few years ago. I don't know what that was all about, but apparently the IRS agent was sitting at the table with the mayor going through things, and the mayor said, you know, Mayor, we think it's an honor and privilege to be a citizen of the United States of America. And as an obligation of that citizenship, that you need to pay your taxes and pay them with a smile. And John was very relieved. He said, "Well, thank you. I thought you meant I had to pay it in cash." Come on. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. A little bit about, we've covered it here, the history of this celebration. And for those of you watching who maybe have never been exposed to Robert Burns or to Mapleton, I'll try to touch on a couple of points. But the first Robert Burns celebration that occurred in this area was in 1857, where there was a small gathering at the Robert Taylor's farm. But think about that, 1857. Miss Bonnie Lass, as we were mentioned, started in 1966. And I've been blessed to be the MC for 15 of the last 21 years. But with that, let's jump into a couple of other stories. First of all, I like to tell stories about my family. So my sister, Joy Stevens Paul, was also a Miss Bonnie Lass, but this is before that. Right when she had turned 16, she had finally got her driver's license. And of course, as you know, much like tonight, it snows around here. And she was not very experienced in the snow. And my father was very concerned about that, had given her some instructions: if she ever gets caught out in a snowstorm, either pull off to the side of the road, or if you're heading home and you see a big snow plow, at a safe distance, follow that plow and it'll probably get you to town. Sure enough, the first time she's in a big snowstorm, she's lost, she can hardly see, and along comes the snow plow. And she says, "Ha, diggity dog, I'll follow this snow plow just like Dad told me." And she's driving, and she's driving, and she's driving, and she's turning. And finally the snow plow stops. The driver gets out and comes to the window, knocks on the window and says, "Miss, are you lost?" And she says, "No, I'm just doing what my father told me. Follow the snowplow." And he said, "All right, well, I'm done with the Target lot. I'm going over the Kmart lot next." Thank you. My next story is really about my son, David, when he was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old, something like that. And he had left his toy out in the backyard. And my wife, Chris, said, "David, you need to go out and get your toy and bring it back in the house." And David was a little bit scared of the dark. And so he said, "Mommy, I don't want to go out. I'm scared of the dark." And she said, "Honey, don't worry. Jesus will take care of you." And David seemed a little bit skeptical of that. He says, "I don't want to go." And she said, "No, Jesus is every place. Jesus will be with you. Don't worry." David thought for a second, finally opened up the back door and yelled out, "Hey, Jesus, if you're out there, can you hand me my toy?" I thought that was pretty bright of the little guy. You guys got to laugh louder. I'm telling you. I don't care if you have a mask on or not. The last story is about my sister Joy. Oh no, I got to get this right here. This is about my brother. My brother, Jay, and his wife, Leona. And it wasn't long after the seatbelt law came into place here in Minnesota, but he actually got picked up for speeding. And as the patrolman was walking towards the car, he noticed he had not had his seatbelt on, so he quickly put the seatbelt on. And the officer is filling out his card, and he said, "Sir, I'm going to have to give you a ticket for not having your seatbelt on either." And my brother said, "What do you mean? I have my seatbelt on." And the officer said, "Sir, I saw you put the seatbelt on as I was walking up to the car. You didn't have it on, you're going to get fined." My brother kind of got back and forth with the officer, and finally the officer looked at Jay's wife, Leona, and said, "Ma'am, can you help me out here?" And Leona looked at him and goes, "I've learned one thing about my husband. You just don't argue with him when he's been drinking." Even Jeff laughed at that. I like that. I like that. We are here to celebrate Robert Burns. And one tradition for Robert Burns is something called an immortal memory. So it's a short discussion about him and his life and his legacy. First of all, Robert Burns was born January 25th, 1759, the son of a poor farmer. In fact, his real name, his birth name was Robert Burns. And Robert Burns didn't change his name to the shorter Burns until he was 27 years old. Robert also loved the lassie. And he was quite a ladies' man. In fact, he fathered 12 children with 4 different wives. Although, to his credit, 9 of them was with his wife, Jean. So Jean was the love of his life. And in fact, his last child was born on the same day as Burns' funeral. And Burns was only 37 when he died July 25th, 1796. Burns also didn't always want to be in Scotland. He had always fantasized and wanted to actually move to the Caribbean, maybe Jamaica. But once his poems became so famous, he just could not move. He needed to stay in Scotland and ended up moving to Edinburgh. Robert Burns is really considered one of the world's greatest poets. And his poetry inspired famous American writers, such as John Steinbeck's 1937 novel of Mice and Men was actually inspired by Burns' poem, To a Mouse. Other notable people influenced by Robert was Bob Dylan from here in Minnesota, and J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. In fact, there are more statues and monuments and memorials dedicated to Robert Burns around the world than any non-religious figure other than Queen Victoria and Christopher Columbus. And then 4 years after his death, in 1801, the first recorded Burns celebration was held. And now they are held all around the globe, hundreds and hundreds of them at this time, and we're blessed to be one of those. And then his poetry. And I will read just a couple of poems, but his poetry is what set him apart. And probably one of his most famous poems is A Red, Red Rose. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that is newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that is sweetly played in tune. As fair are you, my lovely lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love you still, my dear, till all the seas go dry. Till all the seas go dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, oh, I will love you still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare you well, my only love, and fare you well a while, and I will come again, my love, although it were 10,000 miles. A Red, Red Rose by Robert Burns. Now we'll jump into the rest of the program, and we are going to see the first dance of the night, which is the Highland Flames 6-step. The Highland Flame has a number of stories around the origins of it. Most prominently, a victory dance, where you dance on top of your shield, and the shield might have a spike in the middle of it, so the dancers are dancing in a close circle around that spike. Other stories is that the positions of the hands of the dancers are actually like deer jumping in the antlers of deer. So you may see that in tonight's dance. And so tonight, the Highland Fling 6-step will be performed by Ami Yeager and Autumn Gall.
Thank you.
Now, did you hear that clapping? That was clapping. So I know for those of you listening online, it may have been, we're having our challenges audio-wise, but we will continue on and do our best. We appreciate, we've been working on it for hours here. Before we go into the introduction of the Queen candidates, it's an old standby to tell Lena and Oli jokes in the state of Minnesota. And I like to tell my favorite Lena and Oli joke, although it's not even about Lena and Oli, it's about his best friend Sven. Now Sven lived around here and went to a good Lutheran church, but then he ended up moving to Cold Spring, Minnesota. And if you've ever been in Cold Spring, you know it's all Catholic. So Sven didn't really care that it was all Catholic, but he kind of irritated the Catholics. And so he was a hunter. And he hunted and he liked to grill his venison, even during Lent. And it drove all the Catholics crazy because they couldn't have meat on Friday, and there Sven was, grilling up his venison every Friday. So they had the idea, let's turn Sven into a Catholic. And so they took him through the classes, and finally they baptized him in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You are now part of the Catholic Church. The next fall, everything looked great, and the hunting season was good. But they get to Lent, and there's Sven still grilling his steaks. Everybody runs down to confront him about his Catholic religion and not eating meat on Friday. But before they could talk to him, he was standing over his grill with some salt. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, you are now a walleye. I think that kind of makes sense, right? Anyway, next we will now have the introduction of our Queen candidates.
Hi, my name is Mallory Gartner, daughter of David and Jill Gartner, sister of Owen Gartner. I am a junior at Maple River High School. Some activities I am in is 4-H, FFA, CERTine, and band.
Hi, I'm Julia Langworthy, daughter of Peter and Ann Langworthy, sister of Claire. Activities I'm in is volleyball, softball, National Honor Society, CERTine, student council, and I'm a class officer. My favorite part about Mapleton is my community.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Nelson, daughter of Rob and Lori Nelson, sister of Alexandra and Isabella Nelson, and my favorite part of the Burns program is when they do the Scottish dance.
And that is our Queen candidates, and we will see them later this evening while they prepare to get crowned and named Miss County Lass. Well, this story goes way back. For those, I grew up going to the St. John Lutheran Church here in Mapleton, and the pastor for most of my life there was Fred Mueller. So I don't know if anybody else remembers Pastor Mueller. Anyway, he was new to town. And so like most new pastors, they walk around and try to introduce themselves to their parishioners. So he's at this one house, and he thought the people were home. He thought he had seen somebody moving around the house, so he's pounding on the door, nobody comes. Pounding on the door, nobody comes. So he takes out his pen and pencil and writes a little note on the card, and he writes, Revelation 3:20. And leaves the note. The next Sunday, he's going through the collection plate, and his note back in the plate. And on the note below Revelation 3:20 was written Genesis 3:10. So Pastor Mueller not familiar with that exact passage, went back to his office and pulled out his Bible. And of course, Revelation 3:20 reads, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." He thought he was being clever. Then he goes to Genesis 3:10, and it says, "I hear your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, for I was naked." And Fred got a pretty good chuckle out of that one. Now tonight we're going to be here reminiscing from 5 of our former Miss Bonnie Lasses for each of the decades from today of 2021. So from 2011, the first of the night will be Caitlin Royce.
Hi there, my name is Caitlin Royce. I was your Miss Bonnie Lass 10 years ago, which simultaneously feels like yesterday and about a million years ago at the same time. Since then, I have gone on to graduate from Minnesota State University. I am planning my wedding for this fall, fingers crossed. It is safe to gather by then. I'm about halfway through pursuing a master's in education in the evenings, and during the day, I really love my job as a kindergarten through 5th grade special education teacher for the Mankato Public School District, where I currently live. Looking back on it, my favorite part of being Miss Bonnie Lass and truly was having a really good excuse to talk to everyone. I got to go to so many fun events and we met so many new people. And I think specifically, as the only princess on the parade route, not in a ball gown, but especially the only one in a kilt, you get a lot of questions. And I think back then, the future teacher that I was, I really enjoyed just answering all of the questions that we got. Why the kilt? What is Burns Night? What the heck is curling? Can you explain that? How does that work? And it was really fun. To the lovely ladies who are participating this year, thank you so much for participating in such a fun tradition. I hope it's been an amazing experience for you thus far and continues to be so throughout the year. And to all of you, my thoughts and prayers are with you all. I hope you are healthy and well. It is my sincerest hope that next year we are gathered together, not virtually, but hand in hand as we are so used to doing, to celebrate Burns Night together. It was an honor and so much fun to be Miss Bonnie Lass. Good luck to the candidates this year, and I hope to see you all in person soon. Take care.
Well, that was great to hear, and I think making me look forward to hearing the other 4 Miss Bonnie Lasses telling us where they're at these days. I have a couple of stories tonight about my grandparents from Mapleton here, Jean and Marge, and maybe some of you also remember my grandparents. They loved life, they loved each other, and they were funny. Funny things just happened to them, and they could make each other laugh and make each other frustrated, and then they would laugh. And this is one of those stories. And they were having a little bit of a problem about remembering things, as you get older. And so Dr. Lester said, one thing to do is maybe when you can make a list, write things down to help you remember what you were going to do, and maybe that would help out. And so they were sitting in their chairs watching, I'm sure, some TV show that they watched every night. And they like to have ice cream every night. And my grandmother Marge said to Gene, get me up and give me some ice cream. So he said, okay. And she said, you better write it down so you don't forget, like Dr. Lester told you. And he says, I can remember ice cream. He says, all right, well, I want some strawberries. He said, yes, strawberries. And I put some whipped cream on it, too. So
He said, got it, whipped cream. Anyway, he's gone a long time. And finally he comes back and goes, here's your bacon and eggs. And my grandmother said, but where's my toast? Anyway, that's kind of how they live their life, a lot of fun. Next up is first of a number of sword dances. This is going to be the Jacobite sword dance. And sword dances, again, also have various stories and histories to them. But the most consistent one is the war chief would ask their best dancer before the battle to come, lay their sword at a cross, and dance, and perform a dance. And if they were able to perform that without touching the swords, it meant good luck in battle. So tonight we're going to have 3 different sword dances, and each of you can watch and see how lucky our dancers are going to be tonight. So first, the Jacobite sword dance with Tina Gall and Aisley Yeager. So for you people at home, I have to encourage these people to clap also. So go ahead and clap for those dancers. That was fantastic. So before our next Miss Bonnie laughs, this, let's just call it, this is not a story, this is a straight up old joke. We'll see how it goes. But there was an old pirate sitting at the bar talking to the bartender, and the bartender says, you know, how'd you lose that leg? I see you got a peg leg. What happened there? I was a swimming, and a shark came along and bit off my leg. He says, oh, that sounds pretty rough. He said, but I see you missing a hand and you have a hook. What happened with that? I was in a battle, and somebody done cut my arm off, and I got this hook. He says, oh, okay, all right, and I see that patch over your eye. So how did that happen? I was outside, and I looked into the sky, and a pigeon pooped in my eye. And the bartender said, Well, okay, that's not very nice, but I don't know why you would lose your sight. And the pirate goes, "It was the first day I had the hook." Oh, I kind of like that one. Make myself laugh. Next up, we go 20 years in the past to Miss Bonnie Lass, 2001, Rachel Massa.
Hi everyone, happy Burns. I'm Rachel Massop. I was Miss Bonnie Lass in 2001. And since then, I went to school at the College of St. Benedict, where I earned a bachelor's degree in management. And from there, went on to do some corporate retail. I decided to go back to school and went to St. Catherine's University and got an associate's degree for occupational therapy assisting, which is the current profession I perform. And from that point, I did a little bit of traveling across the country with that, which was a real treat. It was a lot of fun. Most recently, I moved back to Mapleton and have been living there for 2 years, working at the community home in town and then also the nursing home in Wells. I most recently, though, moved to Central Oregon and am living in Redmond, working at a nursing facility here doing occupational therapy. Our year, we had a wonderful court. The first runner-up was Mandy Maurer. Megan Goodrich was the second runner-up, and Amanda Johnson was Miss Congeniality. I recall from our year, we had a great time with Mr. Harold Jones, who was the Grand Marshal for Town and Country Days, driving him around in a golf cart. We had a blast doing that. And then I, of course, remember all the parades. That was always a fun time to go to the different surrounding communities, although sometimes a little hot in the wool kilts and the black velvet vests, but that's what also made them special, the uniqueness and upholding tradition, which is what makes our community so special. I was very proud and honored to be able to represent Mapleton during my time as Miss Bonnie Lass, and I wish good luck to all the contestants and enjoy. Everyone be safe and take care.
All right, now we're going to move into one of my favorite parts of the show, which is the singing. And carrying on, as the program says, the Will tradition. And one of the people missing tonight is also one of the Wills, and that's Joanne Yeager. And Joanne's been part of this program for well over 40 years, probably over 50 years. She played for Jack Will over 30 years when he performed. And she's normally sitting back here at the piano, playing beforehand, playing during, and of course playing during the Will singing. So Joanne, if you're watching tonight, I hope you're enjoying it. Definitely one of the deep and really wonderful people that we've had as part of the Burns Night celebration. And as I said, a Will has sung at one of these programs at least since the 1870s. Not the same Wills. not the same. I know Mona, I know you haven't been singing here since 1870, but that's a tradition that we should cherish. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Wills.
Oh, sing to me the old Scots song. I break the Scottish tongue. The songs my father loved to hear, the songs my mother sung when she sat beside my cradle, a croon me on her knee. And I would not sleep, she sang so sweet the old Scots songs to me. I have seen the dewdrops clinging to the rose just newly born, but a sweeter song will cheer me at the evening's gentle rose, and I've seen the night still brighter than the dewdrops on the rose. Was thy voice my gentle Mary, and thine artless winning smile that has made this world an Eden, Bonnie Mary of Argyle. Roaming in the gloaming on the bonny banks of Clyde, roaming in the gloaming with a laddie by my side. When the sun has gone to rest, that's the time we all love best. Oh, it's lovely roaming in the gloaming. I'm going to marry Eddie, sweet little Caddy Eddie, on the 5th or 25th of January. Won't we canoodle-oodle right for the doodle-oodle on the 5th or 25th of January? Oh, I've never been so deep in love as what I am right now. I haven't slept for weeks and weeks, I don't know what to do. It's Caddy Mackintosh, the pony laddie I adore. I've never been so lonely over any lad before. I'm going to marry Eddie, sweet little Caddy Eddie, on the 5th or 25th of January. Won't we canoodle-oodle right for the doodle-oodle on the 5th or 25th of January? Oh. If a body meets a body coming through the rye, if a body kiss a body, need nobody cry. Every lassie has a laddie, none they say have I, but all the lads they smile on me when coming through the rye. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow, and I will sleep in peace until you come again. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love I was in the wrong, but I said I was right. My heart is nearly broken. Sometimes I think I'll choke when I think about the promises he made. He told me once sincerely that he loved me oh so dearly, so I've written him a letter and I said, come back, Danny, to your simple Annie. Danny, did I say you leave me new? Come back, Danny, didn't I say you canna? 'Cause I never loved another lad but you. I love a laddie, a bonny, bonny laddie. He's as sweet as the lilies in the vale. He's as sweet as a heather, me bonny bloomin' heather. Grandpa, my Scotch bluebell. Oh, it's nice to get up in the morning when the sun begins to shine. And for a 5 or 6 o'clock in the good old summertime. But when the snows are blowing and it's murky overhead, oh, it's nice to get up in the morning, but it's nicer to lie in bed. Please join us for this too. We'd love to have you sing with us. By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny brae, where the sun shines bright on the Coran, where we and my true love will never meet again. On the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Thank you so much.
As you can see, I haven't lost 30 pounds. And as you know, it's been 3 years since I've been up here. And I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I know who got this right back here. I haven't practiced in 3 years. Let's give it a try. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah. Okay. Justin Lowe McCoy, he's the best I've ever seen. Irene Mackay's a horseman on the steamship Prairie Queen. Old Max sails the world, he gets a run 3 times a year. And every time the ship comes in, I'm standing on the pier. Well, I like Mackay, and Mackay likes me. I like to read McConnell, and Mackay reads to me. I like Mackay, for Mackay's through blue. It's only when Mackay comes to me that I have one or two. I know we'll have the rooming time this Nick when I get paid. I know it's ought to be the, or it's always been the same. But my wife, she's an angel, or she will be by and by. But I have me dukes because I know she didn't like Mackay. Well, I like Mackay, and Mackay likes me. But I can read Mackay, well then Mackay likes me. I like Mackay, for Mackay's through blue. It's only when Mackay comes to the town of one or two. How many of you remember, now you got to be up in years, remember when we used to have 2 burn clubs? Remember when we had to climb together? Is there any out there that remember that? We'd have the first program, oh sure there is, look at that. We'd have the first program, and then we'd have the climb together. All the other Norwegians and the Germans went out and had something to eat or drink, and the rest of us stayed in and had the second program. Now that must be 30 years ago, right? Anybody know? Agnes? 30 years ago? Or 40? About one more, all I got. But, yeah. There's a good old Scottish custom that has stood the test of time. It's a custom that's been carried out in every land and time. When brothers got together, they'll do the usual thing, and just before we get good night, we raise our cups and sing. Just how we got condolence, just we wrote that song, just we got condolence of all you gang you are. There's a wee white Mapleton in a wee wooden bed. If you can say it's a proper licking, you're alright, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
What a great memory of seeing Jack up there singing again, right where I'm standing. And I have had the pleasure, I'm going to do a couple of his songs right now. Even though he sang Mackay, we're going to sing Mackay one more time. I'm just going to do one verse, and then I'm going to do the chorus. And I'm going to come back and do the chorus the second time. Now, when I do the chorus the second time, everyone at home, everyone here, you have to sing with me. The words are really simple, and even if you don't have them, who cares? You just sing along. But I think you'll get them. So this is your first sing-along tonight at home. And then I'll do, a song about wearing a kilt. But let's start with Mackay. I just been blowing Mac away. He's the best I've ever seen. I mean Mackay, he's the first mate on the steamship Fairy Queen. He sails the world, he goes round 3 times a year. But every time his ship comes in, I'm standing on this pier. 'Cause I like Mackay, Mackay likes me. I treat Mackay and Mackay, he treats me. I like Mackay, 'cause Mackay's true blue. It's only when Mackay comes home that I have 1 or 2. 'Cause I like Mackay and Mackay likes me. I treat Mackay and Mackay treats me. I like Mackay 'cause Mackay's true blue. And it's only when Mackay comes home that I have 1 or 2. A lot of people say the kilt is not the thing to wear. In fact, they say the kilt is out of date. But I've got certain reasons where I'm wearing mine, and so I'll tell you if you only care to wait. I used to wear a pair of breeches before I met my wife, but after I've been wed a week or 3, I sold my trousers brothers bought this kilt. The reason was because I'll explain it if you listen new to me. 'Cause every night my wife, every night I used to hang me trousers upon the back of the bedroom door. I knew the day I must have been a jay. I don't hang out of bed anymore. 'Cause every night my witch, she renders through me butchers while I was fast asleep beneath the quilt. And in the morning when I woke, I was always stony broke. And that's the reason why I wear the kilt. I never would have found her out, but one night I come home, I was feeling a little queer about me. But soon I was a land of dreams, but then I wake at 3. I see her, they're standing up in bed. She said, "Whoosh, be quiet, there are burglars in the house. I'm searching through your pooches for a gun." I don't know if she were or not, but all I know is this: there was nothing in the pooches when she done. 'Cause every night I used to hang me trousers about the back of the bedroom door. I rue the day I must have been a jay. I don't hang my bed anymore. 'Cause every night I went through me butchers while I was fast asleep beneath the quilt. And in the morning when I woke, I was always stony broke. And that's the reason why I wear the kilt. Woo! Harder than it looks sometimes. Might look hard, I don't know. Anyway, next we have our second sword dance. As I said, a victory dance. And tonight, this will be performed by Delaney Stencil and Ava Stencil. Very well done. Before we go to our next Miss Bonnie Last Memory Lane, I want to tell you a story. My mom winters down in Mesa, Arizona, so she just floods me with all these stories about what the folks do down there. It's pretty exciting times on the road. If anybody spent any time down in Mesa, you know, you're taking your life in your own hands, right? I mean, it's kind of dangerous down there with all the snowbirds. And one night, or one afternoon, I could say, two of my mom's friends, Mildred and Alice, decided to go out to the store, and Alice said, well, I'll drive, and Mildred was a little worried about it, but she said, fine. Now, Alice is, I don't know, maybe 4'10". I mean, she's very short. And they get in the car, and they get going, and Alice can barely, see over the dash, and boom, they go right through a red light, and Mildred said, whoa, and then boom, they go through another red light, and then a third red light. Then Mildred looks at Alice and said, Alice, what are you doing? You're driving, you're going to kill us. And Alice looks at her and goes, what? I'm driving? It's kind of true, though, down there. Yeah. Anyway, let's go to our Miss Bonnie Lass from 1991, Heather Slama Esbrigg.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Heather Slama Pasbrigg. I was Miss Bonnie Lass in 1991, 30 years ago. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It was all worth it, even the butterflies and the stress and the anxiety. But every one of us made it through, and so it was a great evening. That year we attended a lot of parades. It was a lot of fun. Carrie Hicks was part of my court that year. Amy Schutz and Karen Breiter and Carrie's parents made sure that we got to every parade that we needed to be at. And then we also attended a couple bonspiels that year. I still to this day enjoy watching curling. And then we also did the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Big A store that opened that summer. So those were some of the highlights from that year. Today I live in Lower North Mankato with my husband Chad. And then my daughter Allison is 20 years old and she goes to school up in St. Paul. And my son Dylan is 16 years old and he attends Mankato West High School here. I work for the state of Minnesota in St. Peter at the Forensic Mental Health Program. I've been there for 15 years as a unit supervisor. And then my husband and I also own Wheels Unlimited in Lower North Mankato here, which he is the main operator of. To all of you young ladies running for Miss Bonnie Lass this year, I wish every single one of you the best of luck. It was an honor. I was very proud to be crowned Miss Bonnie Lass. It was not something that I expected due to a variety of reasons, but it was something that has impacted my life forever and something that I cherish and that I was very, like I said, very proud to be crowned Miss Bonnie Lass that year and given the opportunity to represent the community. So to the best of luck to every single one of you, and just enjoy the night and have a great time. Good night, everyone.
So next, we have the lament, which is a tribute to our friends from the Maple River Burns Club and all of our lives who passed on. I thought tonight, in particular, we might want to keep in mind a number of people who were very involved in the Burns night, including Wally Johnson and Olga Valbo, who were both very involved and instrumental in the Miss Bonnie Lass program. Carl Duncanson, our dear friend who died way too early. And then, of course, Jack and Connie Will, who were so intertwined with this community and this program. The lament. Poem by Robert Burns, One Fond Kiss. One fond kiss, and then we sever. One farewell, and then forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears, I will pledge you, warring sighs and groans, I'll wage for you. I will never blame my partial fancy, nothing could resist my Nancy, but to see her was to love her. Love but her, and love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never met, or never parted, we had never been broken-hearted. Fare you well, you first and fairest. Fare you well, you best and dearest. Yours be every joy and treasure, peace, enjoyment, love, and pleasure. One fond kiss, and then we sever. One farewell, alas, forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears, I will pledge you. Warring sighs and groans, I'll raise thee. Robert Burns. Now we'll move back to our last dance of the night, which is the broadsword dance, our final dance. It will be performed tonight by Autumn Yeager, Tina Gall, Maya Garvis, and Ava Stenzel, the broadsword dance. It has been our tradition more recently to acknowledge and congratulate the graduating seniors from the Mapleton Chelsea class. And this year we have two, Aisley Yeager and Isabella Nelson. Congratulations. Well, I've told quite a few stories about my family, and I'll probably hear quite a bit about it in the coming weeks. But I have one more. One person's sort of been left out of this, and this is my oldest son, Andrew, who was quite precocious as a small boy. But he also kind of sucked his thumb a lot when he was little, and it was quite the problem. And so my wife, Chris, tried this, she tried that, she tried this, and so she said one day, as he was sucking his thumb, and they were out and about shopping, and there was a quite heavy, well, let's call it a fat a man walking by, and he had a pretty big stomach, and Chris said to Andrew, you know, if you keep sucking your thumb, that's what's going to happen to you. And Andrew remembered everything, and still does. A couple of days later, they're walking through the grocery store, and Andrew's just staring at this woman ahead of him. She was pregnant, all right? And she was quite pregnant, but he keeps staring at her, and she didn't like it. And she said, little boy, stop looking at me. But he just kept looking at her. And she said, little boy, stop looking at me. You don't even know who I am. He goes, I know I don't know who you are, but I know what you've been doing. She was quite surprised. So our next Miss Bonnie Lass memory lane is Kelly Albright Rex from 1981.
Hi everybody, my name is Kelly Albright Rotz and I'm Miss Bonnie Lass from 1981. My court includes Kim Beatty, Gail Conrad, and Michelle Weingartz. It seems crazy that 40 years ago I was crowned Miss Bonnie Lass, but here we are today. What have I been doing for the last 40 years? Well, I've been going to school, working, and being a parent. I spent some time going to Mankato State and St. Cloud State where I got my degree in public health. And right now I work for the Minnesota Department of Health as a communication specialist in the chronic disease division. And I'm also assigned to the COVID response. I live here in St. Louis Park with my family, my husband Dave, and my children Jacob and Megan. Some of my fondest memories of Burns is just the bagpipes and the dancers. But on the evening that I was crowned, one of my fondest memories is when Mr. Leiferman came over and gave me a big hug after I was crowned. He is one of my favorite teachers when I was in high school, and so it was very special that he was the MC that evening. The other fond memory that I have was my neighbor, Julie Trainer. She piped me off the stage that night, and it was really special to have a friend and a neighbor pipe you off like that, and so that's a really special moment. There's lots of memories of just opportunities to be on the parades, go to bonspiels, and talk with people and meet people from other communities. It was a real honor and a privilege to be an ambassador for Mapleton, and I continue to do that by just attending Burns every year when I can. Unfortunately, we can't be together this year, but I hope we can in the near future. I want to wish the contestants tonight for Miss Bonnie Lass the best of luck, and whoever is crowned Miss Bonnie Lass on her court, I wish you a fabulous year. Hopefully everything will turn around here with COVID, and you'll be able to get out there and connect and meet people across the state and in the communities. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you, Kelly. Next on the program is the announcement of the winners from this year's Maple River Burns Club curling tournament with Bonspiel. And we have winners from the Maple River Women's Burns Spiel. The first event runner-up, the Cheryl Olson rink, with Melanie Moore, Mackenzie Drager, and Maura Kroll. And the champion of the Women's Burns 2021 Spiel was the rink of Linda Annis, Julie Willis, Nicole Van Grassen Annis, and Barb Moore. So congratulations to the winners. Some great pictures there from earlier today. In the men's event, third event champions, the Randy Cummings rink. Sam Ziegler, Evan Davis, and Terry Doty. The second event champs, the Nick Ward rink. Jay Byram, John Healy, and Luke Thompson. In the first event runner-up, the rink of Jeff Annis, Adam Annis, Steve Annis, and Dave Byram. And finally, the first event champions was the Tyler Lennon rink with Josh Moore and Jared Moore. Congratulations to all the rinks in the winning rinks. Congratulations. Next, we will have a video of Jeff Annis giving us an update on the endowment.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Annis, President of the Mapleton Area Foundation. We're so happy that we're able to work with the Maple River Burns Club in setting up their own endowment fund. The endowment fund was set up in 2019. To date, the endowment fund total is $11,686.78. This means we have $303 of interest to reinvest. With an endowment, the principal is kept intact and only the annual interest earnings are used to fund current needs. You may ask, what are those needs? A new and safer float is a top priority, and those funds have been secured. Other needs are to maintain and increase the scholarship fund for Miss Bonnie Lass and her court. We want to be sure we're able to secure a quality pipe band for future Burns Night programs, as well as to continue to support the Scottish Dance program. Finally, to keep the Maple River Burns Club financially stable. Last year, all the Miss Bonnie Lasses and their courts donated just about $2,000. Thank you. You continue to support and make a big lasting impact. If you want to contribute and make sure Maple River Burns celebrations continue for years to come, you can go to mapletonareafoundation.org and click donate and choose Maple River Burns Club, or send your contributions to P.O. Box 221 Mapleton. If you have any questions, contact the Mapleton Area Foundation or the Maple River Burns Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. One last story for tonight, and then one last update from a past queen, or Miss Bonnie Lass. It's the last story about my grandparents, Jean and Marge. And if you knew my grandfather, Eugene, he didn't have the best hearing. But, you know, my grandmother's hearing kind of was iffy too, at least in Gene's opinion. And so he was complaining on and on to Dr. Lester about Marge's hearing, and she's not responding to him, and how can he convince her that she should get it checked out. And so Dr. Lester gave her a way to approach it. He said, stand behind her, ask her a question, and if she doesn't respond, just move closer and closer and see how close you need to be before she responds to you. And so they were at home, and Marge is sitting in her chair, and Jean's on the other side of the room, and he said, Marge, what's for supper? Nothing. So he steps forward about 5 feet. Marge, what's for supper? And he repeats this again. And finally, he's almost like right behind her. He's so happy he's proving his point. He finally goes, Marge, what's for supper? And she turns around, she said, for the 4th time, it's lasagna. Oh, Gene. Anyway, I was told that the actual date, 50 years ago tonight, Deb Bach, now Deb Bach Ireland, was crowned Miss Bonnie Lass. And she will be our last former Miss Bonnie Lass to address us tonight. Yeah?
Hi, my name is Deborah Bach Ireland, and I was Miss Bonnie Lass in 1971. My husband Doug and I live in Mapleton, and I currently work at the Mankato Clinic. We have two daughters. Shannon and family are living in Texas. Shannon was also crowned Miss Bonnie Lass in 1995, and she was the first daughter of a past Bonnie Lass to be crowned. Our daughter Jill and family live in Mankato, and we have a precious granddaughter, Ava. Things that I remember about the year I was Bonnie Lass was that night at Burns Night, no matter what your heritage, everyone was Scottish. Almost all the girls in the junior class went out for the contest. We were taken to the Mankato Beauty School to get tips on hair, makeup, and modeling, and we were also on KYC TV to promote the Burns Night. And we weren't allowed to wear long formals like the girls are now. They thought we were too uncoordinated and would trip and fall. And we also had to wear white gloves. One of the highlights of that year was to meet Miss America, Phyllis George, at a tea in Minnesota Lake. And we were all excited to get our picture taken with her. And my camera wouldn't work. Can you believe they didn't have cell phones in those days? So we have no picture. I just like to wish all the candidates for this year the best of luck. Have fun, make lots of memories, because even after 50 years, you'll still remember. Good luck.
All right, we're getting to that point of the program. For those of you at home, you had your instructions, I'll repeat them. Move up on your chair, on your couch, on the edge, the excitement builds. Can you feel it? I can. I want to acknowledge our judges this year before we get into the final of the crowning. And they were Justin Krause, Heather Frentham Mathis, and Melanie Wohler. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview our candidates and make your selections. And with that, I'd like to have the reigning Miss Bonnie Lass Court come onto the stage and stand on the side. Good. And then we will have our candidates. No. Wait.
Their farewell.
Thank you to our three sponsors, the Maple River Chamber of Commerce, the Heather Curling Club, and the Maple River Burns Club. Thank you to my family, friends, and the community. Also, thank you to the other ladies who ran with me this year.
This year was definitely different and one of the most unique years in this history of this event. Due to COVID, we were unable to attend parades, but we still volunteered at the food shelf.
Good luck to this year's candidates, and I hope this year is fun for you.
All right, now I'm back live. I've had my instructions. Our candidates, please. A round of applause for our contestants. So this is the moment we've been waiting for. The envelope, please. Sealed twice, I've been told. And so it goes. Drum roll. We're going to, with 3 candidates, we're going to do this congeniality, the second runner-up, and then we'll crown Miss Bonnie last before first runner-up, and the other contestant will be the first runner-up. So, Miss Congeniality. Now on right here. Elizabeth Nelson. All right, second runner-up. Mallory Gardner. And now, the moment we've been waiting for, Miss Bonnie Last, 2021. Elizabeth Nelson! Congratulations! And that makes Julia Langworthy the first runner-up for Miss Bonnie Last. Congratulations! And now we will do the piping off. Are we doing the speech? Okay.
Hi, I'd just like to say thank you for sponsors, the Heather Curling Club, the Mapleton Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Mapleton Veterans Club. And I'd like to give a special thank you to everyone who made this possible because of how hard it was with COVID and everything. And I just speak to Ms. Finance for 2021. Thank you.
So we've come to the end of a most remarkable program. Again, Jeff and Linda and everyone who pulled this together, remarkable work. Yeah, Eric, thank you so much. And again, there is no clan gathering formally, but we offer the idea of sharing some beverages or food with friends and family, either directly or over the internet. And we will end, this is some last instructions for you at home. You must stay, you cannot stay, you are still in your seats at home. You have to, hey, Mom, I see you in Mesa. Stand up. No, I'm serious. Stand up. I won't find out. Stand up, all of you, and we were going to join in All Lang Syne.
for